Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. I'm Tamera Loerzel, and with me is Samantha Mansfield. And we are here to talk all things talent today. And we're going to focus on kind of a follow-up that Jennifer Wilson and I did back in January when we talked about the top 10 things to look for, be paying attention to, I guess, as talent leaders and HR professionals. And one of them was career pathing. And, that's a big box. And so we thought we would unravel it a little bit. And Samantha and I are going to take a component of career pathing, which is really about what are we doing for learning and development and our learning plans for people. And, making sure that we are not taking our foot off that gas pedal, first of all, in that I think learning and development is one of the big requests of our next gen talent, and having a clear plan for how to develop. What skills do I need to be building? How am I going to be developing those skills? Being invested in from technical training, leadership development, and then areas of focus. And we need to make sure that we're really paying attention to that, defining it, and being intentional. And I know many firms have been working on different competency models and mapping learning plans to them. And one of the big areas that often is overlooked or maybe not sure how do we develop in this area is growth. And we also know that that's a top theme for many firms. It was in 2024 and it's carrying over into 2025 is, this focus on growth and growing strategically and really defining who our ideal clients are. But then also to say, who are our future rainmakers?
Yeah.
And we continue to see the trend with succession and retirements that many of our bigger rainmakers or bigger business developers are retiring. And so how do we build up those skills and develop the confidence in those skills to be good business developers? And so we thought we would, go down that path and just really explore some strategies for how do we incorporate that into our overall learning and development plans, and what does that look like? So Sam, I don't know if you want to add it to anything on that setup or what we're seeing, or if there's a place you want to start with that.
I think something I would add in that setup, which I loved, and you made it quite comprehensive, just adding the element that where HR professionals, leaders are trying to get others seeing themselves as those future leaders, stepping into partner roles or more experienced roles. One of the things that does get in their mind, the younger talent, is I don't know how to do that rainmaking thing, right? I'm not the networker, or I don't know how to go sell. And so it's one of those pieces that can be a little bit of a mystery that actually creates a hurdle. And so it's a place that you may be able to make some progress in helping somebody visualize themselves in that leadership role if they better understood what it meant to have to do business development. Like they may see that on that path to partner of you're supposed to develop so many hundreds of thousands of dollars of business. And they may be thinking to themselves, I don't have a clue how you really do that. And so then they may feel out of reach. And so to help marry the two of where you're looking for those folks who are raising their hand or being willing to step into it, as well as demystifying for them this scary piece of becoming a leader and helping them understand what the whole process is about. And that's just something that I would add to what you said, because I do think that that is in there. And I had a wonderful conversation with a firm leader, and they were saying, gosh, we really hadn't thought about making business development growth actually part of our learning curriculum. That's something that's so often either observed by participating in an event, or you just kind of get it through experience. But they hadn't really thought about making it an intentional aspect of their learning plans, especially as you're looking at bringing people up into those leadership roles. And so I was grateful that we're having this conversation.
Yes, I love that. Well, so why don't we start with some definition then, Samantha?
Yeah.
I know that's one of the things that we do when we talk to partner groups who are wanting to create a growth culture. And we also do it, in our Rainmaker development programs, is like, let's back up and level set. Because I think some of that mystery that you were pointing to comes from, I hear rainmaking or business development as you want me to sell something.
Yes.
And sales is like taboo. So we say business development and rainmaking, and like we use other phrases and words, and we have to be distinct about, you said networking also, which is not sales. That would be personal marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to back up and do some definition and level setting about there's a distinction between marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm.
And in marketing, there's personal marketing, networking, thought leadership, doing webinars, speaking, writing, podcasts, live streaming. There's all kinds of ways we can market personally. And then there's corporate marketing, our website, our branding, promotions that we do, sponsorships, right? So there's marketing over here, and that's one to many, because we have an outreach to, many out in our community, many targets, if you think about it like that. And then once there's an opportunity or somebody emerges and says, hey, I might have a need, then we start to enter into the sales process and sales discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And so first we need to be clear about, what skills are we trying to develop there? Are we developing personal marketing skills, or are we developing sales skills?
Mm-hmm.
We need both. But I think that can take some of that mystery and that fear away about what we're talking about. And then, Samantha, we talk about 4 kinds of business developers. You want to define that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say next, is because even in the split that you just defined, there's even levels or types, I should say, within that.
Yes.
And people will often serve and be in multiple of these types. So the 4 are: one is that you have a supporter. And this is where a lot of us start. And I think for many people, they don't even understand that in that supporter role that they are participating in business development activities, that they are participating in the growth. And so as a supporter, that may be things like, I'm writing a recap to the conversation or the meeting that happened, or maybe I'm drafting the proposal that's going to go out to a prospective client, those kinds of things. The supporter activities that give us the capacity to be able to out and do the work as well as the business development like we're talking about. And then we also have the server, and the server is where we do a lot of the cross-selling. This is where we go deep with our existing clients. We're listening for those opportunities. We're actually then inquiring about it. And that's one of those ones that, again, some people will say, gosh, I don't really even think about that necessarily as business development, because maybe that feels a little more natural. But at the flip side, there are people that get nervous even in that capacity of being perceived as selling, right? And that, they're already a client, and I don't want to be perceived as I'm trying to come in and sell on something else. And so the mindset can really get in there and play with some people in that capacity as server. And then we also have sourcer. And that's what you were talking about, Tamera. I'm going out and speaking engagements, and I'm blogging and podcasting and all of that, and really helping to build the brand and reputation that draws people in. And then the last is the seller. And so the sourcer does not always have to be the one that actually goes in and works the final details of the engagement and sells it. And so people can find their passion and what they're comfortable with. And we do need people in all those types on our team, but it doesn't have to all be one person. And I think that helps a lot when people start to understand that getting involved in business development and the growth of the firm doesn't mean they have to do all of those things and that they can start to ease their way into it.
Yeah, it's a journey. As I was listening to you speak, like it's really a journey. And if we can paint that picture, and we're talking about career pathing, right? This is inside of career pathing.
Yeah.
What's my journey and where do I see myself today and what do I aspire to be? And maybe I want to be this really great server. Well, I probably do need to develop some selling skills so we can help our clients when needs come up.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we tie those together and how can we see those selves and what is the science, if you will, or the steps? There actually is a methodology. It's more habits and steps and process is selling is than it is personality, which sometimes we make up that it is, so we can then start to teach what those aspects are. And so you can take these competencies then and start to map them into a learning program and say what kind of competencies do they need, and how do we teach them how to have conversations, and how sometimes there's like presentation skills or communication skills or the process of selling, a business development program or a business development course, or if you're doing something in-house, in the firm, we can teach specific skills and approaches and how we do that, in addition to the experiential learning, which is critical, and shadowing people, because Samantha's style of business development is different than mine. It's different than Jen Wilson's, and it's different. And so we need to start to find our approach, our way of doing it, and style, and learning about the different kinds of conversations that we have in those various meetings. And so we can map out the more what I'm going to call formal learning and the experiential learning, and then say how do we try that? How do we move that forward?
Yeah. Well, and to add to the skills that you were saying, one that I wanted to add in there is curiosity.
Yes.
Because curiosity is one of those ones that sometimes in the pressure of the timesheet and how my time is getting allocated, they can get nervous about taking the time to ask the questions.
Right.
And expressing that being curious, one, makes them better at the technical job. But in addition, being curious will also help them uncover opportunity. And so a skill that they can use to most definitely do the job in serving the client is also a skill that will help them with the growth of the firm, and knowing the value of that. The other piece that I thought is keeping in mind when you're working on that career pathing and the competency plans to go along with it, or the learning plans to go along with it, is identifying when do we start this kind of learning with our team. And very often what I run into is that the responsibility of starting to get involved in business development tends to start at partner, maybe manager. They might start getting some at manager, but it's typically a partner. And then that's yet this another big cliff that all of a sudden they're jumping off of, right? That's so new to them. And so one of the things that we could do is get them acclimated to this earlier in their careers. And like we were just saying, communication skills, facilitation skills, curiosity, all can be used earlier in their career just in serving clients. And so making sure that we're actually incorporating that, maybe even starting at that senior level, although some firms are starting even with associates, so that it's not this scary mystery in the future, but instead it really is a matter of, this is part of what we do and this is how we communicate with people. And then they'll find that the business development that comes out of it is very natural, and it doesn't feel like this adjunct onto all their other responsibilities.
Yes, for sure. My gosh, there's so many directions we could go in what you just unpacked there. I'm going to say one of the things that we make a mistake on by waiting too late to start talking about business development and incorporating the skills and the confidence and their own style and approaches is that we'll lose people. So not only is it like, I don't know, bait and switch or, a surprise party or something at senior manager, and all of a sudden you have to be a business developer, although they really did know that. But we don't really start focusing on it till then. What happens is we have people that are really good technical people, and we have people that are really good client servers. And then we have people that are really good relational people.
Yeah.
And they tend to be our business developers and our people developers.
Mm-hmm.
And if we over focus on the technical, we sometimes find we lose our relational people because they don't quite fit.
Yeah.
Or it's not motivating and inspiring them.
They don't feel like they're making a difference.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so you'll start to uncover that and bubble it up by having these conversations with, your associates, seniors. And that's one of the mistakes I think we often make is like everybody has to, be jack of all trades, like they have to do everything. And instead I would say, who are the ones that are latching on to that? Who are the ones that are like, they're interested, they're involved, they're actively participating in it, because those are the suspect for your business developers. And so then we can start to, carve out multiple paths. And we see this, in our Rainmaker development programs is, we'll do some, I'm gonna call base level, right? How do we network? How do we build referral sources? How do we, go deeper with our clients? And if I'm a server, I got to get really good at that. And if I want to be a sourcer, I got to get good at the referral. But you'll start to see a natural path where people will go. And then it can start to split off and we can say, where do we invest? And then that gets put into their custom learning and development, program and career path. So I think that's something for us to think about, is this relational versus technical track for people. And, sometimes we know, but sometimes we don't know. And we've got to give them opportunities to try things to see which one they emerge in.
Well, I think that's such a great idea to start watching where their natural inclinations are. Because if you think about even the way that they get to know people within the organization, right? So you may find that there's a team member who is always that connector, that person who's always saying, oh, you got to meet Tamera, or Caroline, you got to meet Caroline. Caroline is amazingly artistic and creative. And they just naturally start seeing that. That's just a talent that they have. And so if we see that, we may realize, hey, this is somebody who is going to be great in our community at making connections and building referral sources. And we could maybe develop that and foster that more. Or like somebody that's in one of our leadership programs right now that was feeling very hesitant on this topic of this business development and where was their role, because they were not like that person I just described. And it made them very, very anxious. But when we talked about things like blogging, podcasting, helping to design material and presentations, being a guest panel at a conference that's in the niche that you serve, that sparked her idea. She thought, she said, well, I love to write. And so she said, I'm going to reach out to marketing and see if they'd like support in blogging. And I am sure the marketing team was thrilled about that, right? So it's those kinds of things, is that you can start to listen for where do people express interest and help them make that connection to what that means for the growth of the firm and what business development is and what their role may be in it. Because it doesn't have to look like what all of the rainmakers that are in the partner seats do today. It may look different for them, or as they're starting to phase into it, they can really lean into where their natural interests are and talents lie, and certainly can still make a difference in the firm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we just think it's really important, to focus on, learning and development and, have a plan, by level. There's like, by those competencies, there's things we need to do, but then to say, how do we start tailoring that? And, thinking about it from this relational idea and this technical idea. And then if we're going to say we're focusing on growth as a firm, we need to define what that means, because the stigma and what people hear is that means you want me to go out and sell something. And it means we want to grow because it creates opportunities for our people, but also because we're in the helping profession and we want to help our clients. And clients' needs are up. And so, we need to be able to talk to our clients, ask those questions, that get really good at inquiry. It's one of the skills we would build, is asking questions, and, being curious, being comfortable navigating, not knowing the answer. So we can say, how can we help you? And I might be able to help you within my firm, but also it might be through the connections that I'm making out in my community, in our associations, just in my personal network or in our firm's network. And so just getting really clear about, what we mean by that, and doing some definition. And Caroline will pop into the link here, our article on the 4 kinds of business development. It's rainmaking comes in many forms. And that can be a start for a conversation that you could have internally as you're looking, to grow and, develop rainmakers and build business developers. And then you can apply it, to other skills. We could have this whole conversation about people developers and mentors, and, there are, who are really technical people, and what are they expected to know and learn, and, how do they disseminate that information? And so we'll probably have some follow-up on this topic. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.